A body is found in the woods. No wallet, no ID, nothing but the clothes on their back. Cut to the medical examiner taking a long, meaningful look at the corpse laying down on a metal table. It's going to be difficult to identify the victim, says the medical examiner as she covers the corpse's face with a white sheet. We move to a 5-minute montage of stock footage of actors holding test tubes and wearing lab coats. And finally, a miraculous solution is found for an apparently unsolvable crime. Well, I just described a scene from almost every CSI movie or series. Have you ever stared at a screen wondering how difficult it is to identify a body in a crime scene? What kind of evidence is actually used? In this video, we're going to put our CSI hats on and dive into the world of forensic science as we explore the main processes used to identify a body in a crime scene. Now, a quick disclaimer. The steps and methods that I will be listing may be differently used depending on the country or region you live in. That said, I will be focusing on the most popular methods used today based on science. Let's start with formal identification. Often, the police have reasonable confidence in a deceased person's identity due to the nature of the crime scene. For example, authorities might find a body in a house and they believe it to be the victim's home. They might find identification like a driver's license and utility bills that match the name on the license. However, they will often seek formal identification through relatives or those close to the victim. In movies, we often see the family member being transported into a cold and clinical morgue. The medical examiner or police officer will then dramatically remove the sheet so the family member can gaze in horror and despair at their loved one. Well, all drama aside, in reality, this process is most often done with a photograph. The medical examiner will sit the family member down and prepare them for what they are about to see before presenting the photo. Even in straightforward identification cases, the medical examiner will often take fingerprints, DNA, and blood samples that can be analyzed at a later date if needed. Sometimes, the police can't rely on formal identification for many reasons. For example, if they find a deceased person in a public place and they have no form of identification on the person. In other cases, they might be suspicious of the person who comes forward to identify the body and want to conduct further checks. We all know the killer usually returns to the crime scene, right? In addition to that, sometimes the authorities find a body that is severely decomposed or damaged in a way that makes formal identification impossible. In those situations, the authorities rely on forensics. Forensics is a branch of science that uses scientific methods to help the police solve crimes. Let's now take a look at the different types of forensics police use. Physical attributes include things like sex, age, race, eye color, and hair color. You can also include identifying marks on the body like scars or tattoos. Those help tremendously with formal identification because most people can recognize a family member from a distinctive scar or tattoo, even if other areas of the body are difficult to identify. Now, even when formal identification isn't possible, scars can help police with their next steps. For example, suppose the deceased person has a medical incision scar on the specific area of their body. In that case, the police can contact local surgeons or medical centers to see if the surgery was performed locally. Similarly, if they find a female body with a cesarean scar, the police will know that she has given birth in the past and she likely has children and other family members out there. There are also other ways to tell if a deceased woman has given birth. Forensic specialists will often look for shotgun pellet-sized pockmarks along the inside of the pelvic bone caused by tearing of ligaments during childbirth. But what if the body has started decomposing and you can mainly see bones? How are authorities supposed to find any information? Truth be told, bones can tell us a lot more than you think. For example, you can tell if a victim was male or female by looking at bones. If you look at the pelvic bone, you'll notice that it is larger, rounder, and more open in females than in males of the same age, so that they can facilitate vaginal childbirth. Similarly, females usually have rounder, smaller, and more pointed lower jaws than males. Another difference, maybe not as obvious as the previous ones, is the presence of a larger temporal bone in males. The temporal bone is the bone close to the ear where muscles attached to another important structures of the head pass through. Determining the age at death through physical attributes is also possible. We can look for some signs of physical aging like arthritis. Bones have growth plates from which they grow and specific sections that fuse at predictable rate. So we can determine the age of a person just by looking at long bones like the tibia, fibula, femur, humerus, radius, and ulna. You can also learn a lot from looking at the victim's teeth. X-rays can tell scientists what age of teeth formation a person was in when they died. Teeth are less influenced by nutrition than other areas of the body like bones, which makes them much more reliable. It's important to note that many of those physical attributes that I've listed can vary based on nutrition, genetics, disease, and exercise. For example, a malnourished child may appear younger because their bones haven't grown at a typical rate. Regardless, these attributes can help authorities build a picture of the victim, which they can cross-reference with records of missing people. As I mentioned before, teeth can help a forensics team identify a body. Like fingerprints, they are unique to an individual. No one else in the world has the exact same set of lines and ridges on their fingers as you do. The same is true for your teeth. The bone structure of the jaw and the roots of the teeth are unique to you. Additionally, any dental work you've done, like fillings, caps, or root canals, can be identifiable. We have all seen how teeth and fingerprints end up being the solution for every crime series episode ever. In reality, the process is not that simple. The issue with dental records and fingerprints is that the police can only use them for personal identification if those records already exist. For example, if you've never been to a dentist, your dental records won't be on file. Likewise, most authorities only have a copy of your fingerprints if you have previously been arrested. The other way a forensics team can identify a body is using one amazing molecule, DNA. You know, that molecule found in all your cells. DNA provides us with an unbelievable amount of information. Just by looking at genetic markers, it's possible to tell the victim's sex, eye color, hair color, and ancestry. Everyone's DNA is also unique. Even identical twins, there will be some variation due to environmental factors. Similarly to dental records and fingerprints, authorities can identify a body quickly through DNA testing if the deceased person's DNA is already on file. However, even in cases where there's no match, DNA is still extremely useful. I'm talking about all those DNA kits that have been popping up all over social media, the ones that allow you to learn more about your genetic ancestry by matching your DNA to traditional family trees. What most people don't know is that police are often granted access to those databases. For example, it's possible to run a deceased person's DNA through the database and find their family members. You can find a match quickly if anyone in their immediate family, like their brothers, sisters, or parents, submitted DNA. It's still possible to do that even with more distant ancestors. For example, by the time you get to second cousins, there could be close to 200 possible identities, but the police could use other attributes to narrow the search down. If you have a list of 175 possible identities, you could eliminate 50% based on sex if you know the sex of the victim. Another way to identify a body is using isotope analysis. Isotope analysis is a new forensic technique that has taken off in the last decade. But in order to understand how it works and how it is used, we need to understand the science behind it. Our bodies are made up of different elements such as oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. Those elements exist in our bodies in different forms called isotopes. Isotopes are essentially chemical variations of those same elements. Isotopes of elements exist in varying ratios in different places around the world. Now, what if I told you that the food you eat, the water you drink, have a direct impact on the isotope ratios in your body? Oh yeah. The environmental factors that a person is exposed to on a daily basis produce a chronological record of the metabolic and dietary activities in the isotope. Isotopes can be found in the DNA present in hair, fingernails, or teeth. And for that reason, forensic scientists can use this information to look for levels of certain isotopes and find the molecule signature of each individual. The results can provide an astonishingly wide range of information, from age, sex, dietary habits, and genetic disorders, to even the geographic region the deceased person might have spent a good chunk of their childhood where that isotope profile is most common. While isotope analysis on its own can't identify a person, it can provide valuable information to the authorities so they can know where to look next and take a step closer to solving a crime. And with that, we have covered some of the many methods forensic teams use to learn more about a body found in a crime scene. Hopefully this video helped unveil what happens behind police tape. So next time you'll watch a CSI movie, you'll be that annoying friend who spots all the scientific inaccuracies. Yeah, those. Speaking of which, any CSI movies or series you recommend? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video to let me know that you want to see more of these, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next upload. I'll see you soon.